Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this council meeting to order. Mayor Matheson provides his regrets. I'd like for us to take a few minutes of silent reflection. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, the meeting is yours.
For you, Deputy Mayor Ritzma, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? And if so, please state the general nature thereof.
Councillor Gaffney.
Agenda item 9.2.1, modifications to draft plan of subdivision. And I have a shareholder's interest in an abutting property.
Thank you. Duly noted. Any other declarations? Seeing none.
Item 3 is adoption of the minutes, and there is a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council of the Corporation of the City of Stratford dated November 8th be adopted as printed.
Moved by Councillor Ingram. Thank you. Second by Councillor Vasilakos. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Item 4 is adoption of the addendum, and there was no addendum to today's agenda. So moving to item 5, report of the Committee of the Whole in camera session. Item 5.1 is from the October 12th, 2021 session under the Municipal Act as amended, and a matter concerning the following item was considered, and that was item 5.1, purchase of service agreement under the advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose exemption. And there is a staff recommendation that the Corporation of the City of Stratford enter into the purchase of service agreement with the Stratford Economic Enterprise Development Corporation for a term to December 31st, 2025, with an option for an additional 5-year period, that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the municipal corporation.
A mover for that item, moved by Councillor Gaffney, second by Councillor Clifford. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed of any, and I believe that's unanimous. Thank you.
So item 5.2, just prior to today's council session, an in-camera session was held to consider the following items. Item 4.1 was expropriation and related litigation update, and this was under the litigation or potential litigation, including matters for administrative tribunals and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege exemption. Item 5.1, which is the proposed disposition of land in the Crane West Business Park, and item 5.2, which is the agreement amending option to purchase agreement / agreement of purchase and sale for lands in the Wright Business Park. And both item 5.1 and 5.2 were considered under the proposed or pending acquisition or disposal of land exemption. Item 6.1, 6.2, and then 7.1 to 7.7 will be considered following the council meeting at a reconvened in-camera session, and direction was given on the first 3 items.
Thank you.
Moving to item 6, hearings of deputations and presentations, there's none scheduled. Item 7 is orders of the day, and item 7.1 is correspondence, and it's a resignation from the Downtown Stratford BA Board of Directors, and there is a motion that the resignation from Elsa Fairhus from the Downtown Stratford BA Board of Directors be accepted.
Mover for that item, Councillor Ingram. Thank you. Councillor Rack will second. Any comments? Seeing Councillor Ingram. Thank you.
Thank you. Just noting the BIA board's regrets on Elsa's resignation.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. With nothing further, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Item 7.2 is a proclamation for International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and there is a motion that Stratford City Council hereby proclaims December 3rd as International Day of Persons with Disabilities in the City of Stratford to recognize the importance of ensuring that all citizens, regardless of barriers they may face, have full access to their community.
Councillor Henderson will move and Councillor Bunting will second. Thank you. Any comments or discussion? Councillor Henderson, I see your hand.
Yes, I still get the odd email about this, and I thought I would just raise it while we're live today, that reminding people that if you have a permit and you display it, you can park anywhere that there's parking downtown free. So you don't have to go into the designated accessible spots. You can park anywhere you want and just display your permit, and you do not have to pay. If you choose you want to pay still, you still can. You have that option. just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Any other comments or questions? I believe that question was called. I'm looking at the clerk. Yes, it was. So go.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, it was moved and seconded, but I believe we still need to call the question officially.
So all in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
So through you, Deputy Mayor, item 7.3 is correspondence. It's regarding OLT case number PL 10232, and it's for the information of council.
Thank you.
Item 7.4 is a resolution, and it's a request for improvements to the Kelly Municipal Drain. And then there is a staff recommendation that K Smart Associates Limited be appointed in accordance with Section 78 of the Drainage Act to prepare a report for council's consideration outlining the required improvements needed to the Kelly Municipal Drain.
A mover for said item, Councillor Gaffney, second by Councillor Vasilakos. Discussion. Councillor Henderson.
And thanks to the staff for sending me a picture of the map of where this is. I guess I didn't realize that the city limits went that far out. Do we actually have it changed and then it's on the telephone post where it says the city limits? Like, I'm just wondering, is that the end of the city limits there where that drain is?
I'm looking to Mr. Crinklaw.
Through the Deputy Mayor, not entirely certain. I would have to refer back to respond to the answer.
Thank you.
Okay, it's no big deal. I just thought it looked pretty far out in the city limits. Thanks.
Anything further? Item 7.4 has been moved and seconded. I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Item 7.5 is a noise exemption for Queen Street Major Storm Trunk Sewer. And there is a lengthy staff recommendation, and it is it's requesting that exemptions from the noise control bylaw be granted for this project.
A mover for that item. Mover with Councillor Beatty, second by Councillor Vasilakos. Discussion. I see Councillor Burback and Councillor Henderson.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just curious as to the exact location of this or how far it would be from people's residences. And also just noting that we did have a noise complaint about the generators on this project. And I don't think it's the same generator, but I just want to ensure, especially if we're going to be doing it over nighttime hours, that the contractor would take every step that it would take to mitigate any noise for the overnight hours.
Thank you, Councillor Burback. Director Crinklaw.
Through the Deputy Mayor. So there is two exemption requests put forward to you. One is for the construction work that's happening at Lakeside Drive in Queen Street. That's anticipated for about 4 weeks, and that is for the construction activities so that the contractor can get ahead of the game for the installation of the outfall before the in-water work time period closes put out by the Conservation Authority. That location's about 150 meters from the nearest residence, and that is monitored for sound as construction goes on. In terms of the generator work, this is to ensure that when the concrete is installed for the outfall structure and area, as well as the proposed jacking pit located at Trinity and Brunswick there, that they have necessary heat to allow the concrete to cure properly. These durations are not as long as the construction work that is happening, typically about 5 days to cure. In the winter months, there might be a couple of times that's needed, but it is needed to ensure that the product is established appropriately. We do encourage residents to reach out to staff if they're having such frustrations. We'll do what we can to mitigate those noises.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Henderson, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. Just meant trying to find it. Can they not put up a barrier to lessen the noise effect we've already heard from one neighbor who is struggling with his daily life because of the loud noise. And this noise is predicted to be 65 to 67 decibels. A dishwasher runs around 50, which is about the same as us talking. But if you're listening to that 24 hours a day, I know at work one time, we had a door slamming thing going on, and everybody was complaining about the noise. And the office had recently redecorated and moved all their barriers out to the garage. And I suggested, why don't we just try that as a sound barrier? And they put them up around the equipment, and we had no more complaints. So is there not a way that the diesel, I'm assuming it's the compressor that's making the most noise there, maybe they could erect some kind of barrier around that to deaden the noise more. Like, I can't support this if the noise is that loud 24 hours a day. It's not fair for the neighbors. And as we saw in the diagram, as it moves up further, it's going to come, a lot more homes will be involved.
Director of Infrastructure.
Yes, to the chair. I am sure the contractor has looked into noise attenuation type devices. I can follow up again with them to see if there is some kind of mitigative measures they can put into place. I do stress that in terms of the diesel generators that Councillor Henderson is referring to, are needed to ensure that the heat remains in those structures to allow the concrete to cure properly. We are looking to other options to provide the power source, but I'm not sure if they'll be ready to be put in place for the time of the installation.
Thank you. Any further
Just to follow
questions?
up on that, like, I know when we were having the windmill debate that they said the noise around a home shouldn't be higher than 50. Because, you know, in a workplace, it can go to say 80 or 90, but that's because you're only exposed for 8 hours. Where in your home, you're there 24 hours. And I believe the windmills were running around 44 to 47 at that time. So they were below the limit that was accessible for 24 hours. And 65 is above that. And you know yourself, each decibel point above the 50 is getting louder and louder. And I mean, I just know even when Whiteman's was doing their things, it was only a couple of days there was noise, but that was, you know, that was enough. It was, you know, come in your house all day long while they were working. So for this to go on 24/7 for weeks really isn't fair. I know it's hard on the construction and we need to get it done, but they need to be doing something extra to reduce the sound level in that area where the residents are.
Councillor Beatty and then Councillor Vasilakos.
So I appreciate the concerns brought forward regarding noise, but it's with a big however. I believe staff and the contractors are going to do their best to mitigate the noise as much as they can. But if we look around the world, we can see today the challenges that we're facing through the climate change. And I truly believe that the noise that we're facing is a small challenge, considering what the challenges are that many of the communities across Canada are facing right now with flood damage. You know, I appreciate the concern, but I think the bigger picture needs to be looked at. And I believe that anybody would appreciate that we can all do our part just to get this project seen through.
Thank you, Councillor Beatty. Councillor Vasilakos.
Just for clarity, the only place that there'll be continuous noise is that down at close to the river at the bottom of Queen Street, and that's 65-ish decibels at 15 meters, and the closest house is 150 meters. So that where they're going to be actually asking for a noise exemption for the curing of the concrete, it isn't for weeks on end. It's 5, maybe 5-day periods, a couple times over that time when they're going to be curing concrete, because I think a lot of the concrete's pre-formed and then some pouring it. I just want Councillor Henderson to know that it isn't, weeks on end of 24-hour noise for that particular noise exemption that's up where all the houses are around Trinity. Is that correct?
Director Krinkla.
Yes, through Deputy Mayor. That is correct. The work that would be occurring, the generator work would be in the Trinity, Brunswick area, would be for 5-day periods. I'm anticipating probably 2, maybe 3 of those durations.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Councillor Henderson?
So you're saying it's 5 day for 2 or 3 weeks? Is that my understanding?
That is what I anticipate, yes, correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Anything further, Councillor Henderson? Thank you. So item 7.5, noise exemption for Queen Street major trunk, storm trunk sewer. That has been moved and seconded. I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? One opposed. Noted. Thank you. And that's carried.
Item 7.6 is correspondence regarding the official plan amendment application OPA 01-20 and zoning bylaw amendment Z06-20, and that's for 370 to 396 Ontario Street. And there is a motion that the correspondence from Connie Eaton, Robert Ritz, and Jane Marie Mitchell regarding official plan amendment application OPA 01-20 and zoning bylaw amendment application Z06-20 be received for information.
Moved by Councillor Henderson, second by Councillor Gaffney. Question, Councillor Clifford.
Yeah, I would like to ask our planning staff, did they have any reply to any of this correspondence they received in the last week?
So I'm looking for, perhaps there's Miss Bridge. Thank you.
Good afternoon, through the Deputy Mayor to Councillor Clifford. So staff have reviewed the correspondence that's been received. If there's specific areas that Councillor Clifford is interested in staff responding to, I'm certainly happy to do that, but the correspondence received does not change staff's recommendation on the applications that are before council at this time.
Thank you. Anything further? Seeing none, I need a motion to, I believe I do have a mover and a seconder for that. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of receiving that information? Opposed, if any, and that's carried.
Item 8 is business which previous notice has been given and there's none scheduled. So moving to item 9, reports of the standing committees. Item 9.1 is the report of the Infrastructure, Transportation and Safety Committee, and there are 3 items listed for consideration as follows. Item 9.1.1 is request for exemption from noise control bylaw 113-79 for the 2021 lights on Stratford. Item 9.1.2 is the Huron Street reconstruction phase 1 public engagement and recommendation. And item 9.1.3 is the delegation by Ron Dodson from Cycle Stratford, their audit report.
Thank you. A mover for that? Councillor Vasilakos, will you move that? Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Burback. Discussion, Councillor Gaffney.
I don't know if this is proper form, but I wonder about taking 9.1.2 separately.
We certainly can. So we will take 9.1.1 and 9.1.3. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Moving to 9.1.2. I will call the question on that. All in favor? Any opposed? One opposed, and that's carried.
Item 9.2 is report of the Planning and Heritage Committee, and there are 2 items listed for consideration as follows. The first being item 9.2.1, modification to draft plan of subdivision 31T18-002, and that's for 4110 Perth line 36. And the second item is 9.2.2, planning report zoning bylaw amendment application Z06-21 for 215 Duro Street.
And Councillor Gaffney declared pecuniary interest earlier on, so if I could have a mover for 9.2.1 at this time. Moved by Councillor Ingram, second by Councillor Bunting. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any, and let the record show that that's carried, and let the record show that Councillor Gaffney did not participate. And then moving on to 9.2.2, moved by Councillor Ingram, second by Councillor Burback. Discussion. Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Item 9.3 is the report of the Finance and Labor Relations Committee, and there are two items listed for consideration as follows. The first being 9.3.1, request for funding from Stratford General Hospital Foundation, and that motion specifically relates to the request from the Stratford General Hospital Foundation. And then item 9.3.2, Ontario Regulation 284-09 for the 2021 budget.
Mover, Councillor Gaffney will move, second by Councillor Clifford. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
Item 10 is notice of intent, and Stratford City Council will hold public meetings on Wednesday, December 8, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. to hear from interested persons with respect to the following matters. The first being zone change application Z07-21 and draft plan of subdivision 31T21-002, and that's for 5250 Lone Avenue. And the second being proposed amendment to building bylaw number 112-2005, and that's including fee schedule A.
Thank you.
Item 11 is reading of the bylaws, and item 11.1, the bylaws 151-2021 and 152-2021 require third and final readings. And on your agenda, they're listed as bylaws 11.1.1 and 11.1.2.
Thank you. A mover for such. Moved by Councillor Ingram, second by Councillor Vasilakos. Councillor Seven.
Thank you. First, can I request a recorded vote for this item? And I just wanted to comment, just to reiterate that I think if, you know, I think there's no dispute that these lands need to be developed. I think what we're talking about is a discrepancy between what the developer is wanting more high density and what, you know, and what you know, I just feel like the zoning and the official plan allow for high enough density in this area. And I just wanted to refer to an Energy and Environment Committee meeting on November 4th. And at that meeting, there was a unanimous motion that, sorry, one second. That the committee requests council to defer this proposed development to the Planning and Heritage Subcommittee to deal with the environmental issues of charging stations, energy efficiency, and fuel. And it was carried unanimously, sort of with the understanding that it would be deferred at the last meeting, or at least a motion to defer. And so at that same committee meeting, there was, you know, sort of mentioned by a committee member that they're concerned that the recommendations are not carrying weight or taken seriously by council. And I guess this concerns me because this falls right on the heels of council unanimously adopting a climate action plan, setting greenhouse gas emissions targets, and of course the declaration of a climate emergency. So what I feel the committee was looking for is for this development not to sort of go in ahead of developments being viewed under a climate lens. And I think that is what they are ideally looking for. And so I would like to show, you know, that we are taking this seriously, and you know, I think this amendment at the very least should be deferred until the planning department can look at it through the climate lens. So for the reasons I mentioned at the previous meeting and that I oppose the two motions.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Seven. Councillor Ingram.
Thank you. A question to the manager of planning, if I may. It's my understanding that the Planning Act does not have evaluation criteria related to environmental initiatives or climate action plans. Am I correct in that?
Through the deputy mayor to Councillor Ingram. So this is correct. So when staff are evaluating a development proposal, our framework that we do that within is the Planning Act, the provincial policy statement, and our city official plan. And we cannot go beyond the requirements of those three documents when it comes to any matter, but specifically the matter at hand being climate change and energy efficiency.
Thank you, Ms. Bridge. Councillor Burback.
Thank you. Yes, and just a comment further to that, I am a member of the Energy and Environment Committee, so I did follow up with staff to see if we would be able to ask for or enforce any of those requests when it comes to environmental standards, which would be great. I really wish we could, but as we can see, that's a provincial level restrictions that we're under, and we can't force a developer to produce something that's more efficient than the Ontario regulations. So it's disappointing for sure, but that's the reason that I didn't bring forward a referral motion, because I knew that it wouldn't stand.
Thank you. So if there's nothing further, I will turn the recorded vote back to the clerk.
So through you, Deputy Mayor Ritzma, starting with Councillor 7, please state whether you are in support or opposed. Councillor 7.
Opposed?
Councillor Bunting.
Support.
Councillor Vasilakos.
Support.
Councillor Ingram.
Support.
Councillor Burback.
Support.
Councillor Henderson.
Support.
Councillor Beatty.
Support.
Deputy Mayor Ritzma.
Opposed.
Councillor Clifford.
Opposed.
Councillor Gaffney.
Opposed.
So through you, Deputy Mayor Ritzma, there are 6 in support, 4 opposed, and 1 absent.
So that is carried.
Okay. Item 11.2 is reading of bylaws 11.2.1 to 11.2.4. And those are 11.2.1, amend zoning bylaw 201-2000 to rezone the lands known municipally as 215 Darrow Street. 11.2.2, authorize execution of agreement of purchase and sale for 51 McNabb Street. Item 11.2.3, authorize transfer of 51 McNabb Street. And item 11.2.4, authorize the entering into an execution of a purchase of service agreement with Invest Stratford. And these bylaws can be taken collectively upon unanimous vote of council present.
A motion to take those items collectively, moved by Councillor Burback, seconded by Councillor Bunting. All in favor? And that's unanimous. First and second reading. Moved by Councillor Ingram, second by Councillor Beatty. All in favor? And that's unanimous. And third and final, moved by Councillor Gaffney, second by Councillor Henderson. All in favor? And that's unanimous.
Item 12 is a consent agenda. Are there any items listed on the consent agenda to be considered by council?
Seeing none.
Item 13 is new business. Are there any new business items?
Councillor Henderson and Councillor Gaffney.
Oh, sorry. I was just wondering, with the leaves still following, are we going to be able to extend the yard waste pickup this year? I know we had to do it last year.
Director Krinkla.
Yes, to the Deputy Mayor. It's not our intention at this point to extend the fall leaf collection program. It'd be about $10,000 to add on that service. And the landfill is open 5 days a week and Saturdays as well for people to drop off their leaf yard and leaf waste, as well as we'll have another pickup in around Christmas time. So we think there's enough services to bridge that if we need be, and unless recommended otherwise.
Thank you, Councillor Gaffney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, as we've learned over these last several weeks, a couple months, that there suddenly is a great need for high density housing within the corporate boundaries of the city of Stratford. To that end, I would like to make a motion to have staff look into designating some available lands around the city, including lands on McCarthy Road, lands behind Canadian Tire, and include the 2 parcels of land the city of Stratford owns that at some future point may become available for developing housing, and look at finding places to designate as high density housing needs. So we don't especially have to go into our built up neighborhoods unnecessarily. So I would like to formally make that motion to have staff look into that.
Thank you, Councillor Gaffney. A seconder for that. Councillor Clifford, thank you. Discussion. Councillor Ingram?
Thank you. I'm wondering if Councillor Gaffney is hoping to do this through the OP update, the official plan update, or if this is a standalone study.
Councillor Gaffney.
Actually, Mr. Chair, through you, that's probably exactly the place to do that. Yes, no, sorry. Yeah, and that does make sense if we look at it through that area.
Thank you. Anything further on that? Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Seven?
Thank you. Can I clarify, is the motion still on the floor then, or is it?
Yes, it is.
Is it the same as it was, or is it now to be part of the official plan?
And I'm looking to Councillor Gaffney if he appeared to receive that, yes, or to accept that. And I was going to look to Councillor Clifford as well.
Yeah, if that's the preferred method of approach on this.
That's fine.
Thank you, Councillor Clifford. Councillor Seven?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So no further discussion. I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's unanimous. Thank you. Any other new business? Councillor Clifford.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there any update on the street that's closed at the end of Mornington Street? Is it coming along? Is it on schedule, or is there an opening expectation when it's going to be open again?
So the Director of Infrastructure and Development.
Yes, Deputy Mayor. Sorry, I don't have the specific date they plan to open. It is on schedule, but when they came out late October, we gave it the 8-week notice. So I think we still have a couple weeks left before that roadwork's completed.
Thank you. Anything further under new business? Councillor Burbach.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that on the 25th, this Thursday, is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And we are marking that day as a council by wearing purple today. So just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. And Councillor Henderson?
I apologize. I'm wondering, can we go back to the consent agenda? Because I had it highlighted, but I was looking at the next part. And is it possible we could go back to that?
I'm going to look to the clerk.
To Deputy Mayor, yes, we can consider an item presently.
Go ahead, Councillor Henderson.
I'd like us to consider CA 2021-136, the correspondence from CUPE Ontario regarding the Ontario Municipal Employees Retirement System. Seemed quite concerning to me, and I'm not sure, maybe, I can't remember if our unions are involved with OMERS or not, but they might be concerned about that. I'd like to request endorsement of their resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. And Councillor Seven, you're going to second that? Thank you. Discussion. Councillor Gaffney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I saw our acting director pop up there all of a sudden there, and it just makes me wonder if there's something she'd like to contribute to this conversation.
Thank you. So I'm looking to the acting director. Go ahead.
Through your worship, to Councillor Gaffney's concern, you know what I mean? This is CUPE looking into the pension plan that's not administered by the corporation. So we would be completely unaware of, I guess, any of the details of the concern until they kind of, move forward if OMERS wishes to kind of pursue, looking into this concern. But the corporation really doesn't administer this plan. So from our perspective, unless we were to, our QP OMERS were to engage in this, would we have any understanding of what may have taken place or whether there's any concern moving forward? Because we really don't administer this at all as an organization. We
Thank
simply
you.
pay the dues.
Thank you. So we do have a motion on the floor, and I will, I'm looking to the CAO.
Through you, just wondering if the acting director of corporate services wanted to weigh in here as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CAO, through you, Mr. Chair. No, I don't really have anything to add other than just to reiterate what the Director of HR had mentioned, that it is really something that the union is taking up with OMERS directly. So as staff and as someone familiar with the OMERS pension plan, I don't have the same concerns that are being raised by the QP representatives. It is a pension plan that's basically defined benefit plan. So they're managing it under provincial statutes and provincial legislated guidelines. So that's my 2 cents on the matter.
Thank you. I see Councillor Bunting and Councillor Clifford.
Yes, I didn't know this was coming up. I knew the item was going to be on the consent agenda, but I didn't know it was going to go to a vote. In this particular case, because I do collect an OMERS pension, I am going to declare a pecuniary interest, although I would be interested in finding out what the situation is at some point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bunting. Councillor Clifford and Councillor Ingram.
Yeah, I was going to ask our HR director, acting director, if it's proper for us as a council to get involved with something like this. Like, I don't know the background either. Is it something that our local councilors should be involved in one way or the other?
Thank you.
Through the deputy mayor to Councillor Clifford, as I mentioned, we have no. We do not administer this plan, and as the acting director of corporate services has kind of pointed out, OMERS adheres to everything from a legislative perspective that they must, to govern this pension plan. So this is more or less QP, taking I guess a run to see if there is any, any issues around how they've administered it. So we wouldn't really have, we don't really have anything to do with this other than watching on the sideline, to see if there's anything that does come up that would be a concern to us. But we have no authority over the administration of this particular pension plan. It's OMERS.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Ingram.
Thank you. Just for full disclosure, I do also pay into OMERS, but I am not a member of QP, so I will not be declaring a pecuniary interest.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. So if there's no further comments, we do have a motion on the floor. Councillor Bunting will remove himself from the voting piece, and I will call the question. All in favor of the support? Opposed? And that is not carried. Thank you. So we're moving down to item number 14. Madam Clerk.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Ritzva, item 14 is adjournment to standing committees, and there is a motion that the council meeting adjourn to convene into standing committees as follows. The first being Social Services Committee, and the second being Community Services Committee, and then to Committee of the Whole, and to reconvene into council.
Mover for that. Thank you, Councillor Vasilako, second by Councillor Burbach. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Henderson, whenever you're ready.
I'd like to call the Social Services Committee to order. Any disclosure or pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, Move on to the subcommittee minutes are attached. And delegations, there's none scheduled. The number 5.1 is the purchase of service agreement with the United Way Perth Huron. That the report titled Purchase of Service Agreement with the United Way Perth Huron be received for information, and that the Director of Social Services and the Chief Administration Officer be authorized to enter into a purchase of service agreement with the United Way. And Ms. McRoy, did you want to make a few comments on that?
Thank you through your chair. This report speaks to the involvement of this initially being a grant and moving to a purchase of service agreement. We've targeted 2 areas to look at. We've linked our purchase of service with the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, where the Social Research and Planning Council will direct studies that will see the move forward of this plan in the areas of the objectives and outcomes. And the second one is addressing things that we have seen and we anticipate to see as the pandemic comes through, and that it is to support nonprofits who are having some conflicts or issues with the board of directors, that to ensure that they are stable as they move forward, because we knew the pandemic had some it was hard on some of the nonprofits.
Thank you. Sorry, I was on mute. Can I have a mover? Councillor Vacalascos and Councillor Ingram is seconding. Any comments or questions about this report? All in favor? Carried. And report of the Supervisor of Social Services, update in the Homeless Access to Care Program. That the report titled Update on the Homeless Access to Care Program we received for information. And did you want to make a comment on that too, please?
Thank you through the chair. This report speaks to the program partners, where we partnered with our outreach team, with the nurse practitioner, pharmacist, and the county paramedic service. And the team focuses on community paramedicine in an effort to provide primary care, medication management, assistance with urgent medical issues in both a mobile capacity and through on-site clinics at local community agencies. Specifically, we have been at the local on Friday afternoons, and within the community, individual assessments are being completed. We've had everything run from the inoculations at the office, assessments at our office, and out in the streets, providing the paramedicine to those that may not normally have access to these services.
I'd like to thank you very much for all your department is doing along with the other agencies to ensure the homeless their health being taken care of. Councillor Gaffney, I see your hand up.
I'll move the staff subcommittee recommendation.
You're on mute, Bonnie.
Sorry. Councillor Vacalascos, I see you're seconding it. Councillor Clifford, do you have a comment?
I have a question. I've got people asked about how they can, like, who's in charge of the homeless and how they can help as independent people. And I just don't know, like, I was in St. Catharines the other day and I see homeless. I see people with carts and they've got the beds on top, but I don't know what am I supposed to, if someone wants to help with the homeless, and I don't know how, like, who they're supposed to, like, talk to or address. Like, could I get some help with that? I know it's not exactly what we're talking about today, but I just don't have an answer for them.
Thank you through you, the chair. Councillor Clifford, during regular office hours, I would direct them to social services 519-271-3773, extension 200. And after hours, we contract ShelterLink 519-272-2294, and they can direct assess, get the information for the situation and help those in need.
Councillor Clifford?
Actually, what I'm asking, I have people that want to help in the community with homeless. It's not the homeless, but people that are very concerned and they want to know who they can contact and how they can help. I said we have social service, we have people that do it, but there seems to be a real, at least if I'm getting asked, I'm sure other people are. So I just wonder who they talk to if they want to help.
Through your the chair, I would maybe use a two-pronged approach with that. Again, I would say if they're looking it depends what type of help they're looking to give. So again, we can assess that in-house, or we can refer to the United Way, who have the urgent care needs, and they're collecting money for that. So that's the two, depending on what the situation they are describing is.
I've also had different ones ask me about if they can donate clothing or mitts or hats and stuff. And I've suggested what you said. Also, I also suggested the House of Blessing or the Salvation Army. And, you know, the United Way has great contacts. They're working with a lot of community members. So, did I see Mayor Ritz come? Oh, Councillor Burback.
Thank you. Yeah, further to this discussion, just a question, or maybe looking for an explanation. I know we have outreach teams that will go to the homeless and help, but I did have quite a few people asking me how does that work, or how does the program work exactly, and do they offer things like warm clothing and that type of thing?
Thank you. Through the chair. Yes, when people identify someone that is sleeping rough or homeless, they can contact our office. And yes, we generally link with we link with our outreach team and go out to meet the individual. And if they are looking for support and service, there are different things we can look at. We can look at our emergency housing system to place them in a local motel. We can look at giving gift cards. We can look at warm clothes. So we assess, speak with the individual and see what their needs are, and look at supporting them. And we have that in-house Monday, Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and we are extending the program from a prior report that came to council with choices for change for an after-hours outreach.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Henderson.
Deputy Mayor Ritzma.
Yes, thank you. And to Councillor Clifford's, and I know the United Way has come up here, but through Councillor Clifford's question, certainly the other piece that we are working on and continually to take funds for is that of the Connection Center that we're working on at this point, a location that will provide an opportunity for the homeless to do their laundry, to take a shower, to have a coffee, to build that necessary and important relationship through Choices for Change in Stratford Social Services. So that is coming as well. So certainly United Way is a great place to reach out if you want to volunteer as well. And certainly there are many other locations in Stratford that are good spots as well to reach out to with financial support or personal support.
Any other comments or questions? I'm wondering, Ms. McElroy, since this seems to come up, especially this time of year, of course it is, people are even more concerned when it's getting colder. If maybe all the suggestions that we've talked about today that we know of, we could have maybe a small paragraph on the homeless page where people call for, you know, if you need help 24 hours a day type thing, where our number is from, you know, 8:30 to 4:30, that if somebody is wanting to donate or help, these are the different places that you can help out. You know, like what Deputy Mayor was just talking about, the Connection Center, that, you know, things that people maybe aren't aware of, that, you know, the Connection Center is fairly new, right? So, I mean, it's just something to think about.
Thank you. Through the chair, we will take that back. We do have a flyer that we can repost, and we are continuing to look at a presentation ideally in January to subcommittee on a further instructions of when we come across people sleeping rough.
Well, I just think it's great. There's so many caring people in our city that want to help, and you know, they're not sure where to go. And I get the request, and it sounds like other people are getting the request, whether it's from the same people or other people that reach out to different counselors about this. I think it's important that they understand that we're a caring city and that we're doing everything we can to help the homeless. And okay, Councillor Gaffney.
Sorry, I start to sound like a bit of a stickler for procedure, but should that be in the form of a motion? So we're not individually giving staff direction. It's coming from council.
I don't know how everybody else feels about it. I think staff has heard what we're saying, and they'll work it into their program how they deem fit. Does that seem fair, Ms. McRoy, or do you feel like you'd like a motion?
Thank you through the chair. What I will, I'll defer to the CAO at this point.
Just for a point of clarification, I believe that we still have the recommendation on the floor.
Yeah.
If we could deal with that, and then any further direction that this committee would like to give could be in a separate motion.
Okay. Is there any other comments on the question? All in favor? Carrie, thank you. So Kim, I'll ask you again, like, do you feel like you need a motion, or you can just work with the idea on how you see fit for your department?
Thank you through the chair. What I will say at this time is we are working in-house on a communication strategy, because we acknowledge that there is a lot of questions out there that seem to be unanswered. Some of the things we are developing are Q&A, as well as a local systems map as part of the communication strategy. Knowing that December we are not having a social services subcommittee, we are already in the works of this coming forward in January.
Oh, you're well on the ball on this, because the question and answer thing is a great idea. Councillor Bacala.
I'm just going to sort of point out that a lot of what councillors have said today is sort of feedback to staff that they're hearing from the public, and that kind of feedback that can be actually incorporated into operational items. So while I understand the need for you know, resolutions and motions sometimes, I think there isn't really there isn't a policy change or money being spent, and so I often sort of wonder whether some of this is just feedback to operations that can just be taken back. I don't know how other people feel, but this just feels like something that just an FYI to staff of what we're hearing from the public.
Councillor Gaffney.
I'm not making this stuff up. I thought our advice from our leadership team was that if it doesn't matter if it costs 10 cents or $10 million. The procedure is that if we want staff to take actions on suggestions we're making, we should put it in the form of a motion. So for me, like I feel like I've just been chastised for bringing something up that I thought we all understood was the way we were to proceed. So that's why I bring it up. I don't bring it up to cause trouble or to be an inconvenience for somebody.
I think it was, no, there's no problem at all bringing that up. But after listening to Ms. McRoy, they've got it well in hand and they're taking care of it. So thanks for everybody for your input. If there's nothing else, the next item on the agenda is adjournment. And Councillor Bunting is moving and Councillor Ingham is seconding. All in favor? Thank you.
Good afternoon. I will call the Community Services Committee meeting to order. Item number 2 is pecuniary interest, general nature thereof. Seeing none. Item 3, subcommittee minutes were there for you from our November 10th meeting. Item 4, delegations for which we have none scheduled. Item 5 is a report of our Director of Community Services, with item 5.1 being the license of land use renewal agreement for Hydro 1 corridor. And we do have the staff recommendation before you. Moved by Deputy Mayor Ritzma, seconded by Councillor Bunting. Questions or comments at all? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Item 6 is for your information of the committee and the department update, and the minutes are brought forward for you. If there's nothing further, 6.2 is your advisory committee outside board minutes. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Clifford, second by.
I actually have a question.
Oh, my apologies, Councillor Clifford.
Now, to begin with, I have to apologize. I'm on the committee and I wasn't there for the committee meeting, but I took a look at it and I just wondered what staff thought about if there's something small like this that we're going to rubber stamp. Does it have to come to subcommittee, or could it go directly like to a council committee? I'm just asking it. Like I was wrong and I apologize because I wasn't there, but it just seemed a small thing like this, the organized staff. So I'm just asking that question.
And maybe I could turn it back to the city clerk in terms of procedural, if she would like to provide, or to the Director of Community Services. Either one might want to provide some.
Through the chair, I'd be happy to start. So as you're familiar, the city of Stratford has a 3-step decision-making process, and typically items start at the subcommittee level and then recommendations move forward to committee and council. While there was one item listed on this agenda, staff felt it was necessary to bring forward the department update, as oftentimes community services is canceled. With respect to whether a 3-step decision-making process should continue, staff have been reviewing that and may look at a governance review in the future. But that is sort of the intent of why we held the Community Services Committee meeting, was so that the advisory committee minutes could be received and a department update could be provided as well.
Does that satisfy your question, Councillor Clifford?
Yeah, I was just curious. I thank you for the answer.
Yeah. Okay. If there's nothing further, motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Burbach, second by Councillor Henderson. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson and Councillor Beatty. I'll turn it back to Madam Clerk.
So through you, Deputy Mayor Ritzma, returning to your regular council agenda, item 15 is council reconvene, and item 15.1 is declaration of pecuniary interest made at standing committee. Are there any declarations made at standing committee to be restated at the reconvene portion?
I believe Councillor Bunting, yes, under the consent agenda, I believe. Anything further?
So item 15.2 is reading of the bylaws, and there's one final bylaw, and that is bylaw 11.2.5, the confirmatory bylaw. It requires first and second reading and third and final reading.
So mover for first and second, Councillor Vasilako, second by Councillor Bunting. All in favor? And that's unanimous. And third and final, moved by Councillor Beatty, second by Councillor Gaffney. All in favor? And that's carried as well. And we will have a motion to adjourn to return in camera for items not covered earlier this afternoon. So a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Vasilako, second by Councillor Burbach. And I'm just going to, just before we take the vote on that, can we set a time, Madam Clerk, when we'd like to reconvene? Few minutes. Can we give a few minutes here? So let's look at 4:10 to reconvene. Thank you very much. So I'll call the question for adjournment. All in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. See you in a few minutes.